That seems overpowered. I don't even think monks can move that fast. Dude, a tabaxi monk. Holy crap. Movement speed is 30, and tabaxis get a racial bonus, so it's double to 60, and then a dash doubles it again. That doesn't make any sense. So a tabaxi's movement speed is 30? What does the racial bonus say? Because if a tabaxi's movement speed is 30, the racial bonus probably says something else. Otherwise, it would just say a tabaxi's movement speed is 60. And if a default tabaxi's movement speed is 60, that is bananas. Oh, you don't have access to him in D&D Beyond. Okay. Me neither. You're reading it. "30 feet is base walking speed." Okay. So what is the tabaxi's racial that says give them double speed? What does that actually, like, word for word say? Because a base walking speed of 30 usually means, like, that's it. It's 30. There shouldn't be a racial bonus to double your base walking speed. That would be overpowered. Feline agility. You can move with a burst of speed from the help of reflexes and agility. Wait. You can move with a burst of speed from the help of reflexes and agility, cause they only allow you to move. What? You also have a feature to move with the amount of double speed this is not written right. You cannot use this trait after you use it for once until you move 0 feet. What? This is a poor, like, you copy and pasted that from somebody who wrote that poorly. That is not a well-written description of an ability. Woo. It seems almost like a freedom of movement combined with a minor burst of speed. But I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, whatever website you copied that from, that is a janky description. It is on the D&D 5th edition character sheet website. What website is this? I guess I don't do that here. I go to the next location. Okay. The website is www.itsonthednd 5th edition character sheet website just like that.com. Like, what is the D&D 5th edition character sheet website? That's what I'm getting at. I don't know what that website is. D&D 5th edition character sheet.com. That cannot be. There is no way that is official. That is the jankiest website. What's it called? Tabaxi feline agility. Feline agility. Your reflexes and agility allow you to move with a burst of speed, period. When you move on your turn in combat, you can double your speed until the end of that turn. Until you use this, once you use this trait, you cannot use it again until you move 0 feet on one of your turns. Okay, so no, that is, here, let me paste this one. It's much better written. Has actual, like, punctuation and stuff in it. Okay, so what that seems to indicate is only during combat and only during your turn, you can choose to move double your movement speed, or 60 feet, until the end of your turn. So you could move up to 120 feet in one turn. Once you use this, you cannot use it again until you stay still, completely still, for at least one turn. Okay. So all it is it's a one turn in combat only double speed. So yeah, you could dash up to 120 feet, but it's a usable feature. It's not like a movement speed is 60 feet. No, your movement speed is not 60 feet. Your movement speed is 30 feet, and you used an ability that allowed you to double it for one turn. And it only works in combat. So, like, if you're just walking through a city, you can't say, I move 120 feet per turn, every turn, until I get, and then, because the DM's going to be like, what are you doing, fighting the guards? So, it is a good ability, though. Pipeline, that needs to be my next thing. Pipeline. And I didn't pick it up. I drove through there. And I didn't pick it up because I'm dumb. Or is it a this thing? It is a this thing. 2 metal beams.
No, stupid. Oh,
Sorry.
I hit the wrong button. I enacted my fast boots and then zoomed off the edge as quickly as possible.
Everybody's done that in a game like this.
Like, make sure you don't do the wrong thing. Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. Customize. So I'm pretty sure that is a low saddle. I'm going to take that crane off, so we just have a low saddle. Okay. That was the website you used? I'm confident this is not like a... Yeah, this is not a D&D official webpage. This looks like a website where people copy and pasted stuff from a D&D website and then changed some of the wording so that they wouldn't get hit with copyright stuff. Because they changed it to where it sounds far more complicated than it actually is. Because, like, my description of feline agility is, like, 2 sentences shorter than your description of feline agility, and it makes more sense. So, it's definitely a, wow, they overcomplicated that, didn't they? There's also family treasure. What is Old Mac and Drowned Car? Deliver a Hummer to parking. Okay. Alright, so let's drive over to Pedro Bay and pick up that thing. I'll leave. Hey.
I need attention. Like the sniffling isn't enough.
Oh, good times, man.
Oh shit, I'm done.
Sorry.
I'm just being very dumb right now in this.
In this game?
Well, right now, because it has to be the same what I'm doing. But I get it.
Yeah, monks have a similar thing, so I think a tabaxi monk would be really cool too. Although I bet you anything a DM would not allow you to use both the monk burst of speed and the tabaxi feline agility on the same turn. They'd probably put a restriction on that and be like, nah, you could only use one or the other. Because monks also have a burst of speed ability, which is almost identical to that one, except I think I think monks are you can use it multiple times per day with a monk, but monks have like key points, I think they are, which are essentially like like if you were a fighter and you had fighter points, whatever the fuck those are called. You read that you can get up to 240 feet. I'd like to hear their explanation on how that works. Because I don't see how that would function. I guess, well, rogues can use dash as an action. And dash as a movement, I think. I think they can dash as an action and then move as a bonus action? I forget what it is. Rogues do have additional movement speed. Inherently. So I guess if you had a 30-foot move and you dashed 60 feet, doubled to 120 with feline agility, and then used a dash as an action, or bonus action, or whatever the secondary movement is, you would double that again. Monks would be able to do that if you allowed them to use feline agility and burst of speed. Burst of the wind, or whatever. Step of the wind, thank you. Damn, Cappy, you know more about D&D than I do. Holy shit. But you have to keep in mind, the big downside to feline agility is you cannot use it again until you cease movement. In addition, it's combat only. And DMs usually state that you have to be engaged in combat for that to count. So like, let's say you split the party, and you were 240 feet away from the rest of your party, and the other half of your party gets into a fight, you are not in combat. So you would not be allowed to use feline agility in order to burst over there in one turn. You know, the other half of the party is in combat. So your thing is more like a evasion or a runaway tactic than it is an engage tactic. Unless you have two different fights happening at the same time that are taking up lots of ground space. You have to keep that in mind as well. The in combat is kind of a hindrance. Most people don't want to move very far in combat, generally speaking. Although that being said, if you were in the fight that we had a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of sessions ago, where there were casters up on the second story of a roof, like a ways away from us, that would have been useful, because I bet you could have, if you do actually get 240 feet of movement speed, you probably could have moved all the way up to them in one round. Let's go there. That would have been sick. So yeah, at that point you would be like, you'd be a backline fighter. It'd be like, okay, we're engaged with the front line right here. Tell you what, Tabaxi, see that dude like 200 feet over there that's shooting us with spells? Sick him. He's like, I'm not a dog. That would be the weirdest combination. A Tabaxi werewolf. Although I bet you if you're like a Tabaxi werewolf, your DM would probably be like, you turn into like a saber-toothed tiger or a were-cat or something, as opposed to a werewolf. But do you imagine a Tabaxi actually turning into a werewolf? So it's like this cat periodically loses control and turns into a dog. That would be hilarious. I don't think any particular race is necessarily unfair. They all have relatively steep limitations placed upon their abilities if they have bonus abilities. So like Aarakocra are, due to their flight situation, they are limited to classes that you would want to use light armor for, generally speaking. That makes them tend to be significantly weaker. So like you're not really going to have an Aarakocra barbarian. Or an Aarakocra cleric, because clerics generally just need heavy armor. I mean, that's not to say you couldn't, but like it makes it less desirable. So you're going to have casters, you're going to have a ranger, a rogue. A flying wizard could be amazing. True. That being said, wizards, generally speaking, are very long-ranged. Typically already? The only thing you're doing with an Aarakocra is making the range up. And a good DM would put limitations on that. So a good DM would make, like, a lot of situations are going to be indoors, you know. They're not going to completely cut off your ability to do stuff, but they're definitely not going to let you just have run-of-the-mill every single combat, you know. Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. When you're flying, you have no cover. Does vertical distance count the same as horizontal distance? Yep. Yep. There is only distance. There is distance and cover, and that's it. So if you're flying, generally speaking, you don't have any cover whatsoever. And if you do have really good cover while you're flying, you probably can't see your target very well. Because you also have to keep in mind, if you have half cover, chances are, or if you're behind cover, you can't see your target. If you have 3/4 cover, you're probably giving your enemy, like, at least quarter cover because of the hindrance of you getting out of cover to attack. Like, half cover is different, because half cover could be like chest down or stomach down. And you're like, well, I can shoot an arrow over that without any problem. Okay, that makes sense. But like 3/4 cover, you like only your head and like your hands are sticking out from behind a tree or something. It's like you're providing a hindrance to your ability to shoot. Plus, you're going to be super far away. I mean, if you're a ranged character and you've got, what is the ranged character ability that gives you no penalty to long distance? Sharpshooter, I think. But still, in a situation like that, a DM would just make sure that he'd make sure that there's periodic limitations on your flight ability. So like a lot of the really difficult stuff would be indoors or in dungeons that don't have a lot of vertical space. Or the enemies tend to also be flying. So it's like, good luck with that. You know how you wanted to fly? Well, so can they. A good DM can fix problems with a player character pretty easily. Plus, you also have to keep in mind that D&D is not built with PvP combat in mind. So that's what I'm tracking. Either side works for this. So I think I'm going to go around the curvy way. Alright. But, like, classes are not set up to be balanced for PvP. So the fact of, like, you're never really going to be fighting another player, per se. You know, you may fight a NPC who happens to be an Aarakocra wizard, for that matter. And he's going to start whooping your ass. Any class in this game can basically destroy any other class with relative ease if the cards land the correct way for the player. I remember we had a PvP session. Like, if you watch, obviously don't do this to Talon, but Critical Role has a couple of PvP one-shots where the players will fight against each other just for fun. And usually the combat in that is usually pretty quick and brutal, generally speaking. Somebody will go up and hit somebody else and just smear the floor with them in the round. And you're just like, oh my god, that was half my life. You know, this guy did like 2 attacks against me in 1 round and I am almost dead. Why shouldn't you watch them? Because there's spoilers for the campaigns. Like, you can watch them, but don't watch them until you're done with whatever campaign the characters are from. Because they're going to give you story spoilers during the PvP battles. I only think there have been 2. I think there was half of Vox Machina versus the other half, and then there was half of Vox Machina versus half of the group from Campaign 2. But yeah, they always do the fun PvP one-shots after the campaigns are over, so... Like... Don't watch them if you don't want spoilers from the story. Why am I stuck? What am I stuck on? I'm not grounding out. There's a rock there, but it's not touching anything. There we go. Movement. Movement. Hey, there we go. Did I just... The stupid... No, 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 we're gonna do... I'm gonna do, like, that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's the stupid barricade thing got in my way. And it's doing it again. Alright, so we're gonna go from here, I guess, to there. There we go. And that stupid barricade thing. Okay, cool. Can you play a drow? That depends on the dungeon master, but generally speaking, yeah. Like, I had a conversation specifically. There are certain things that you need to clear with your dungeon master. Drow, you want to check if you can play a drow with your dungeon master, because some will allow it and some won't. You want to ask them if you can play a evil aligned character. So if you want to play an evil character, you need to check with your dungeon master first. If you want to play a necromancer, you should check with your dungeon master first. And if you want to play a evil drow necromancer, you probably don't want to. You want to make Drizzt? So like a dex fighter. I've never actually read the story, but I'm kind of familiar with it. Like, he's a dexterous, like, 2-weapon fighter, right? Yeah, I don't think anybody would really have a problem with that. It's just you need to be aware going into the game, and the dungeon master will probably tell you this if you decide that you want to play a character like that. He may need to make you aware that, like, you're going to be hated by a lot of people just because you're a drow. Like, nobody in this world likes drow. Or, you know, I'll make a custom campaign around that. Don't worry about it. We'll make sure you're a cool dude. We don't have to worry about that. But, like, if your dungeon master is already working drow into the game as villains, you need to know you're gonna be having a rough time. because people be racist, yo. Somebody outside my apartment with a really small penis. Wow, dude. The small penis guy is still out there. Go away. I need to buy a sports car. Put a loud muffler on it. And then rev my engine in the parking lot for like 10 minutes before I leave. And then when I leave, I need to drive around the parking lot a couple of times. Bro, just go. Nobody likes you. You're looking at tieflings and they have the same problem. They have it to a lesser extent. They do have an issue with that. But most of the time it's never a problem. Like in our campaign, I was playing it as though I had a like it was going to be a problem. It never came up. But I mean, it might have. In the future. It might have been one of those things like we didn't have time for it to come up kind of deal. But Drow have it real bad. You don't really read fantasy, do I? I mean, I do periodically, like... I read Lord of the Rings. I read a lot of the Sword of Truth series. Maybe like the first half of the series. Like the first 5 books or something. Trying to think some other fantasy series I've read. I'm reading the Witcher series right now. That's fantasy. Is there a trailer store over here somewhere? Back there. So it's like I don't not read fantasy. I just prefer science fiction, that's all. Why are you like judging my fantasy reading creds or something? Or did you just not think I read any fantasy kind of thing? Which, I mean, that's fair. I talk about sci-fi all the time. Oh, I guess Game of Thrones is also fantasy. I've read all of Game of Thrones. What is the name of the series called? Oh. We'll start at the beginning. Because, like, I don't want to jump into the middle. So, like, whatever release date order they are. It's probably what I would prefer. You could always DM it to me as well, because it's going to be hard to keep track of it through Twitch chat, but... I don't think I've read anything by R.A. Salvatore, but I know he's a really prominent fantasy author. Icewind Dale? The Witcher has some really good, well-described combat scenes as well. But yeah, DM me some stuff and I'll go looking. I'm sure there are some audiobook versions of his stories. I know they're insanely popular. So read Snow Crash? No, I'm gonna pass. Cappy told me, I think Cappy said she tried to read Snow Crash and was just like, ugh. Or was that, might have been Lucid.
It was Lucid. I never tried.
Okay. You got like halfway through it and was all like, I'm gonna stop reading this. This sounds like trash. So it's like literal garbage. It is? Okay. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna spend some of my reading time reading stuff that everybody says, wow, this thing is terrible. You should give it a shot just to see how bad it is. No, I don't think I will. I got way too much other stuff to read to waste it reading crap. Well, generally speaking, I tend to prefer to read things in publication date order. Primarily because even though it may not be chronological order, publication date order will generally be understandable and will avoid spoilers from previous books. Because I've read a couple in chronological order that were out of order for publication date order, and got spoilers for books I hadn't read yet because they just assumed that you had read the other book first, because it came out first. They have both lists in the article? Okay. Yeah, there's like, I've read the entire, well, probably not the entire series now, because I'm sure he's come out with a couple more books. But I read the entire Ender's Game series, and it has a different chronological and publication order, and I started reading it in chronological order and got spoilers for a couple of books and stopped and switched to publication date order. Ender's Game is also a bad example of that, though, because that has multiple storylines running simultaneously during the same period of time that start interacting with each other, split off, and don't interact for like 3 books, and then come back together later. And you're just like, oh my god, this is a like, looking at the layout of how the stories are connected, you're just like, what? I don't think it's as bad as, like, the Ringworld series or Discworld. I forget which one of those it is. But there's another book series. It's either Ringworld or Discworld that's got, like, 30 books, and they all... It's you look at, like, the layout of how they're interconnected, and it's not even a tree. It's like a spider web. And shit's just going everywhere. And you're just like, I don't even think I want to get into this. You love movies that make humans to be the bad guys? Yeah, that tends to be the more interesting ones. More realistic? Well, usually when I'm reading fantasy, I'm not reading for realism. Thank you, sir. I will check that out later. I do have a cousin who's a fantasy writer, don't I? I always forget that. I think Cappy's read their book. At least one of them. I think they sent us a copy. Hey, what's up, Rusty? Yep, I'm not going to make this. I'm going to die partway there. So let's pull off the road a little. I can get around this thing later. Alright, so I'm going to detach the trailer. Definitely not going to make that. Where am I? Oh, I'm so close to. How much gas do I have? 4. Man, if I had like 8, I would make it. Let's see. Let's just recover. You're looking to buy a newer vehicle after rolling your F-150 last week? Well, that sucks. I got no better response than that. Over here. There we go. We'll go back up to Mountain River. Oh, okay. So it wasn't like it was a brand new machine or anything. It was an old beat up truck. Okay. Are my lights on? I do. Well, if you're looking for information on vehicles, you have come to the wrong place. I am not super confident around like like cars, trucks, vehicles. I can change my own oil, change my tires, stuff like that. But that's about the extent of my my car knowledge. An 05 Xterra, that's Nissan. That shouldn't be so bad. I don't think I could drive an Xterra, primarily because that was the vehicle I was in when I had our blowout rollover accident. So I would probably be very gun-shy driving an Xterra personally, but... It wasn't the vehicle's fault, it was the tire's fault, but still. That doesn't mean I'm going to be comfortable. Ooh, slippy. Alright, let's go sell that trailer. I want to make sure that big trailer is not just floating around the map. Yeah, definitely. Whoa! Okay. How'd you roll over, man? Was it like a... Did you have a blowout, or did you just lose control and the back end swung out from behind you or something? Ours was, we were driving like 70 miles an hour down the highway between, like heading to Houston, and the rear tire blew out, and the driver didn't know how to handle it, so they slammed on the brakes. And of course the truck started fishtailing like crazy and flipped. And did a bunch of like rolls down the road. Ugh. That was nasty. Let's see, I'm going to Pedro Bay, so this way. We'll come up here, stop over, whoa, don't do that. Up over here for some gas, and get out of there, okay. Went too fast for a corner, slid into the grass, hit a concrete neighborhood sign, and rolled. Holy crap. Ripped the rear axle and both rear wheels off the truck. Jesus. So like devastated the bed of the truck and everything. That probably jacked the frame too. Give it a nice little twist. Very much so, yeah. There are a few things scarier that I've experienced so far in my life than looking out the side window in a car and seeing asphalt like come up to meet you in the mirror or in the window. Like, I could tell we were losing control, and I like held onto the oh shit bar and looked over and just saw like asphalt just whoosh, right up to the window, and I was just like, ugh. Thank God you didn't have your dog with you? Oh, jeez. I know, right? Please tell me you take your dog in the cab of the truck. Right? And don't just have him tied up in the bed. I hate, like, even well-trained dogs, I still hate seeing them tied up in the bed of a truck. Because of the whole, like, losing control, rolling over. I'm like, now your truck is a trebuchet, and your dog's just gonna get, like, whipped. He's in the cab. Okay, good. Filled up. I think at work we're supposed to be getting a new work truck. That's the Ford Maverick, I think. Essentially a hybrid Ford Ranger. It's a pickup sized truck, but it's like a Prius where it's got batteries that charge off of braking and stuff like that. So it's supposed to get like 50 miles to the gallon. Ever watch the guy who shocks the crap out of himself playing with electrical items? I've seen clips of him on like YouTube and stuff, but I've never actually watched him. Yeah, man, definitely post that in Discord. You drove a Ford Maverick when you got married? Dang. Awesome. Were they little pickups back then too? Whee! See, I want to turn. It was a sporty two-door coupe. Interesting. Apparently they've changed up their design then. Yeah, the Maverick we're getting is a small pickup. I mean, we're an IT company. It's not like we're hauling around lots of heavy equipment. We don't need a big truck, but, you know, being able to throw stuff in the bed of the truck would be handy. gets difficult loading up a bunch of old equipment in a four-door sedan sometimes. The older Mavericks look kind of like Mustang-ish. Interesting. That's probably why they killed them, is they were probably like, well, we'll just make our sporty cars the Mustang, and then kill the Maverick. And now they're just reusing the name for something else. That makes sense. Be a little confusing for people who had Mavericks back in the day, and they're like, hey, do you want to look at the Ford Maverick? And they're like, ooh, a little sporty two-door coupe. And they get over there and it's a little two-door truck, and you're like, what? I swear to God, I drove one of these when I was in, like, high school. Yeah, well, you might have. Just not this one. What the fuck? Alright. Alright, now let's deliver this. We put on diff lock and get through the snow a little easier. All right, let's recover now that that's sold. Perfect. Well, I think that is a great stopping point for tonight, everybody.